Testing. Hola, 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 hola. Welcome to a metaphysical interpretation of the Bible study. Today is September, gotta check my phone, 11th. Today is 9/11. Very powerful day for many reasons. We're not going to get into that a whole lot right now. I came in today, wasn't really planning on doing a Bible study. It is 1:36 in the afternoon. And we have a session tonight at iSyndicate at 6 p.m. So I wasn't planning on doing this like this, but I opened up a page, and I actually opened this page up, I think it was 2 or 3 days ago, and I wanted to share it with you all. I just wasn't sure that it was going to be me sharing that right now. Can you guys hear that? Yeah, that's pretty loud. Hold on. We're just coming back from having like crazy cold weather. I'm looking at my board, checking my sound, because it's like even if I am not saying anything, it's still moving. Not sure where it's picking up from, but hopefully you guys can hear me. So I want to get into this page that I opened up in a metaphysical interpretation of the Bible, page 504, because when I read it, it was just like hitting. It just kept hitting. So I will say no more. I will get right into it. Oh, I did want to say thank you all so much for your love, for your support. Things are moving forward in our lives. It's interesting when you start calling yourself something. Like, I remember when we started calling ourselves Infinionaires, and most recently we started calling ourselves ministers, Infinionaire ministers. And it just it changed the perspective of life in a way that I wasn't expecting. And it pulled us in to the work of ministry immediately on another level. We've always been ministers. We've learned that. But when you proclaim it, when you accept the path of a minister consciously, it takes a different route, and a beneficial route, I would say. Everything that has been happening in our lives has been in practice of what we've been studying when it comes to our ministry and our rights, and now our son's rights. And it's quite symbolic, because it's not just our actual son, but the sons and daughters of the Most High. And we have to get this together. We have to get ourselves together so that we could assist the world in getting it together. But you can't do that outside of you. It's the real inside journey. It's something that's so personal and so direct, with the Most High. When you're in that relationship with God, it's it's really a different path, and it's the path that you take on your own. It's not about, showing anyone that I'm an eye minister. It's about being an eye minister. And my experience is creating the challenges so that I could emphasize who I am in that being, and being an infininaire, and being an infininaire minister, something that has never existed until now. And so, when you call on it and you claim it, you live in it. So, okay, I'm not trying to get deeper than the ocean today. I just want to really get this message out to you guys. And thank you so much for your patience, your love, and your support through this time with me and my family. And Solution's not in here right now. He didn't know I was going to do this. So here we go. Page 504. And it starts with, and this is on that second paragraph, John 6, verse 15 gives us an opportunity to return to the subject of ego, as we must. Even in religion, it is running rampant, and the Master dedicated many of his lessons to get us to realize what a stumbling block it can be. The verse reads as follows: When Jesus therefore perceived that they would come and take him by force to make him a king, he departed again into a mountain himself alone. The Master did not wish to fill his ego with all the accolades and adulation from the people who loved him. He knew that neither he nor anyone else need these tributes, for they were adverse to his and our own inner core. He had no desire to be elevated to a worldly position or the equivalent of an idol, for this was very much against his honesty and simplicity. We discussed the metaphor of the mountain earlier. It is doubtful that he went to a far-away retreat. It is more likely that he journeyed within himself to a higher place of meditation, to listen to the wise words of consciousness. Very few of us do this today. It seems that we cannot take time out for ourselves to inwardly listen to higher reasoning. By the same token, we have become accustomed to and even made a tradition of being praised and flattered. We seem to believe that being showered by compliments and placed upon a pedestal enhances our growth. It may be good for our social or professional position, but it is more egotistically self-serving than anything else. As children, we sought approval and acceptance from others, feeling that it was part of establishing our identity. We do the same as adults, and its basis lies in the realm of insecurity shaped by what others may think of us. It may validate us, but only in the eyes of others. It does little, if anything, to help us truly know our inner selves. Again, because of insecurities that are ever present in the mind. If others do not approve of us, our internal fight will begin, and for most of our lives, we will be trapped in this cycle until our lower I'm gonna go back. We will be trapped in this cycle until we lower our material goals and expectations and humbly go within ourselves as the Master did. Keep in mind that John is engaged in the spiritual aspect of self, something in which we may not necessarily believe. We need proof, and his gospel provides it. Even then, the attestations offered were not readily accepted by the masses. I'm going to read that one again. Even then, the attestations offered, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, the attestations, even then, the attestations offered were not readily accepted by the masses. In the people's mind, the soul is not something that can be seen, therefore, it is not substantially real. Only our own deep inner self knows, and when we do accept it, we need no one to proclaim it or embellish it for us. This was really powerful for me the first time that I read it, because this is in the midst of me exercising my rights as a minister, living my life privately in alignment with God and what God wants for me in my life, which I share with those who are in that same frequency to be able to receive what it is that I am offering. It is not for everyone in a physical church, temple, mosque with hundreds of thousands of people coming. My ministry is not for that. I'm an Infinionaire ministry, and this is about the recognition of who I am when I align myself with the Most High, just like Jesus did and many others did before me. This is about the recognition that I am my own religion and that the church is me. This is walking the path of that knowing, being single in purpose, and changing and shifting what that is as life challenges you to do so. This is not just about being one thing all the time. This is about being everything now. And that's what I am. I am a direct extension of the all, and I allow myself to have the experiences that I have so that I can evolve, so that I could experience this life that I was meant to experience in freedom. My mission here is a mission of freedom. I need to exercise that freedom. And I don't need to exercise it in a way that everybody sees what I'm doing. I need to exercise it in a way that I know. And I find comfort in my life in knowing the power that I have when I connect with the Most High, when I take my direction from the source, the all. And so when I was reading this, I was just thinking about social media. I was thinking about the internet and how it was put here to level the playing field and so that many of us could rise to power. But it was also put here for the demise of many, because the programming is real. And what they did was they took everything that they were doing in media on television and film, and then they just put it all on the internet. And so now we have access to that and everything. We have access to everything in the world. So in order for us to be able to be mindful when we go into that plane, into the world, into that metaverse, we have to have control of our minds here in this space now, in this physical time that we are experiencing individually. So being able to recognize what the ego is and what the ego is wanting you to do is very important at this time, because they're putting it on 100. The war is on. And it is a war not for your physical. It's a war for your soul. Because this time now is where we get to make that choice of where it is that, where you're going to exist. You're going to light, you're going to darkness, or you're going to balance. And this time now is where we get to master that balance of what we bring in this realm. This is not about trying to be like Jesus. Well, you can try to be like Jesus, but you got to recognize that you are the Jesus. That it's you. It's not about you trying to be like somebody else. It's about you recognizing what you can do when you connect to that source, that Jesus, Buddha, Zeus, all of these ones that they talk about. There's more than the ones that have been caught and mentioned and written about. And remember that the stories that they've written were to their benefit. Who wrote the books? Who's distributing the books? Who's saying, here, this book is okay to read? So we're beyond that time now. Now we're in a time of enlightenment where you can figure it out. When you make the decision to go to God, and you go to God in every moment, most people just don't recognize what it is. But when you open your eyes and you take a breath, that's God. And when you look out the window and you look at the sky and you look at the trees and you look at the birds and the bees, that's God. When you look at yourself in the mirror, that's God. So when you go to God and you are in alignment with that energy source that you came from, your life becomes different. And this is not about somebody else's testimony. This is about your own. So I'm going to continue on because this was a good one. This was a really good one for the time. So I'm going to pick back up on page 505. Second paragraph. In John 6, verse 16 through 21, we find the disciples on a stormy sea of Galilee, sailing toward Capernaum, and Jesus was not with them. The master joined them later by walking on the turbulent waters and telling them, "It is I, be not afraid." As we explained, he had apparently become drained by a very busy day and by the perceptions he had concerning the multitude's expectations, the latter confronting his intentions against their desire. He was a leader in the field of soul consciousness, and the masses wanted him to be a physical ruler. We can understand his frustration, especially since he often warned his listeners by saying, "Let those who have ears hear." He had then gone into meditation, lifting his being to commune with the energy of spirit so that he could regenerate his mind, emotions, and body. Conscious of his role as a spiritual teacher, the master simply had to rejoin his disciples and continue the mission. To do this, he allowed his mind, blessed with the power of divine consciousness, to dominate the elements. This story demonstrates again his refusal to be self-serving or a power magnet. Metaphysically, the ship symbolizes the journey of the inner self or spirit, and in this particular tale, the disciples were headed in the wrong direction. The aim was for the illusions of the physical realm, while the master journeyed in spirit. When he entered the ship, Jesus was in fact bringing spirit or the higher self in the form of the waters into the disciples' own journey, represented by the ship. And so we have to go back to the last thing I read when we did the study, that we were talking about the chakras. So we have to remember that the disciples are the chakras. And so the chakras were out of order, out of balance, out of line. And so when Jesus came back, when that mind, after doing that spiritual work, after doing your meditations, after doing the work that you have to do so that you could get mana, so that you could get food from the Most High, then you're able to come back and align. And so this is the message that I'm getting as I'm reading this. Okay, moving on. This journey will initially cause turmoil. It is another reason the Master tells us in the Beatitudes, blessed are they that mourn, because we must let go or release what was to allow for the new to pilgrimage in. Okay, I got to stop there because I'm getting chills. Okay, so last week, as we've been going through this great transformation of our son's independence, it was lots of mourning, lots of detachment that had to happen. It was, the first time releasing our son, to the world on his own, and he has autism and a mental condition. So this is, we've been with him. He's been in facilities, and now it's time to really move forward independently, because when you rely on the system that has existed, the flawed system, and you are a person of any kind of disability relying on Social Security, SSI, these different services that are made available, these services are soon going to be taken if you are not complying to their rules, if you are not jabbing yourself, if you are not taking the medications that they prescribe the way that they prescribe them and what they tell you to do. If you do not do that, you are going to be shut away. You're not going to have anything. You're not going to have anything to fall back on if you don't know who you are, And so what's happening in our lives right now is a testimony to what's happening in the world. Lucas has been reliant upon a system for his sustenance, and his system, not completely, but he's a 29-year-old man, and this is what happens to people that have disabilities in the system. When they're kept, you have to do what they tell you to do in the system. And if you don't want to do that, you got to get it together. And fortunately, Lucas has the mind and ability to be able to get it together for himself. And with the help of us and his ministry and our ministries and the ministries that we are all affiliated with, we got this. And we're learning. And we're mastering what it is to minister on a very high level. On a very high, private level. It is a very powerful structure that I will not go into any more than we have on this platform already. Now it's time to do it in person, and that is the Infininaire mission, and that is what we are on. So as we continue this mission, I'm going to continue to give you as much as I can, while I can, and one day it will stop. It will evolve into something else, and those that are ready to hear it and are ready to be a part of it will evolve onto that frequency as well. Everyone has the opportunity, but everybody has to do the work, and you got to do the work yourself. And this is not about a subscription or an amount of money that you pay so that you could get somewhere, so that you could reach a level. And Infininaire reaches levels on their own because you know what it feels like to graduate, to evolve, to talk to God yourself every second of the day and be in alignment with your disciples, your chakras. I'm going back to the book. Jesus himself said that we must be willing to give. Oh, before I go there, I had to say that the reason why I had stopped because a lot of mourning, there was lots of tears shed, lots of them. And sometimes when you're feeling that change and that shift, the pain of it, it feels like it could be wrong, but you know that it's not. And that's how you keep moving forward. And once you keep moving forward, you get shown that you made the right decision in moving forward. Back to the book. Jesus himself said that we must be willing to give up our life in order to save it. I'm going to say that again. Jesus himself said that we must be willing to give up our life in order to save it. This was the process that his followers were beginning to practice. We are being informed that overcoming the old thinking process, limited by the physical nature, is difficult, especially as we step into the mystic, limitless, infinite being or infinite mind. Analogically, it is like letting go of the steering wheel. You know when people say, let Jesus take the wheel? That's what it is. But anyway, analogically, it is like letting go of the steering wheel in a moving car, knowing that the accident may occur. The same is true with us as we turn ourselves over to higher being. We feel that we will reach a point when we will have the fear to lose ourselves and we will not have any control or influence over our lives and our world. This is not the case because in exchange for the alleged loss, we gain our true self and acquire a greater level of influence over it. We can be haunted by the illusion of the old, but this old system is a false view. In truth, we gain a greater dimension and ability by turning it over to a higher nature. The only thing that can be lost is what we thought we knew about our own being. Ache, 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 amen, amen. And so it is. That is what it is. Oh my goodness. I testify to that one. Because, so you guys don't know the details of what happened in our family. But what happened in our family was a space where it got to a point of aggression and violence in our son that he had to be removed from the home due to his condition. And it was stepping out into a newness that I hadn't gone through. We hadn't gone through. And stepping out to that space as a mother was something that I had so much fear of. So much fear. When you have to call the so-called authorities on your loved one for assistance. What it showed me in that time, and everything was as it should have been. Everything worked out beautiful. Lucas is in a great space right now of independence and moving forward in that journey. Things had to come to a total chaos, right? In order for it to be built back up. And that's exactly what was happening in our lives as an indication of what is happening in the world, as an indication of how we're able to handle everything, because when it is happening, that means we're ready for it because it's happening. And when you trust that, when you throw yourself off without a net and you know you're going to be good, that's when you know you met God, because you're good. You know you're going to be good. There is no worrying. But there is the process that you have to go through, that challenge, those stumbling blocks, that hell, that you have to walk through in order to get to the other side. That part is inevitable. And a lot of us get lost in the fear and paralyzed in the fear. And the fear is meant to challenge you so that you can get through it. And boy, and I'm talking about this now because we're having a session for the iMinisters at 6 p.m. today. And, that's our building. We're building there. This, I wanted to share, I want to respect the privacy of my son and not It's so funny because it's like, as I say that, I'm walking in a world now where it's public and private, and I'm learning the difference. And, like I'm saying this, but my son is also very much, I got a lot of phone calls and texts from you all that are in the public and are connected to our son. So a lot of you guys know what has occurred through his perception. And those of you that know what has occurred through our perception have been those of you that have called and, reached out, and we've talked about it. And so some of you know a little more. Those of you that know me a little better know that there was a time where I shared everything all the time. My whole life, I had a broadcast, my whole life with autism, with Lucas. I shared a lot. I shared so much. And then it came to a time where I had to stop that, and I was guided to stop that. And that was a challenge too, because I know that I came here to teach and share. And so, I had to learn that there's a way and there's a who. It's not for everybody, and you can't give what you got to everybody. It's not for that. And so I had to work with my ego a whole lot, because I felt the passion and the inspiration of just having to go out there and share with anybody who would listen. So I had that in me for a long time. And then feeling like, I was an entertainer. I always felt that was what I came here to do. So it was easy for me to do that. It was easy for me to just kind of be open and share. And being, the sign of Sagittarius, and being, the what I was born into in this vessel, there's a lot of qualities about me that just make me just be like, I don't care. I'm a say it. I'm going to do what I want, And so I had to really learn humility. And I had to learn that, it is not for everyone. I am not for everyone. I am too much for some. And that's okay too. But I had to learn that for myself, what that means for me. And that's not me saying, oh, I'm on this journey, so y'all should be on this too, because this is the right thing to do. Jesus did it. So nah, you got to do what you got to do for you when it's time for you to do it. Even the so-called bad stuff. You got to go through that. You got to go through your life. You got to make your life choices because it's what you're choosing, and you have to live the why. You got to figure it out. And that's the same for all of us. It always has been, except for centuries, we've been trapped in a limited thought process and in limited ideas and programs that made us small. And so we kept passing that on generation through generation. And this is now the time to release that. What a beautiful time we're in. What an exciting time we're in. And I'm happy to be able to speak to you from this time, from the space where I was just a week ago, to be able to be in this space today. I'm not who I was back then. I'm not who I was yesterday. I'm not who I was a second ago. I keep evolving. I keep evolving and learning and growing and sharing in different ways. And I've learned that I don't have to share the way that I used to. Because guess what? I could share with one person. I could share with one person. One person is enough to change the whole world. And so in that, I was able to tame my ego, because it's like, Conchita, you can have a seat. You don't have to be all up in the camera. Everybody doesn't have to hear you do this or see you do that. It took me a long time to do that, because there was a lot of entities, energies trapped in my chakra system, in my root, and in my sexual chakra, in my sacral chakra. There was a lot of energies trapped in there that were constantly bringing me back to the ego, keeping that ego really strong and feeling like, nah, this is the way that it has to be. And I was creating things for myself based on not knowing myself and rooting them, in my mind, in my root, believing what I was telling myself, even though it was coming from a place of falseness and lies and, programs that I was programmed with before my energy, my soul even came to this vessel, to this meat suit. So in this lifetime, I get to express all that I was and be fully okay with it, because it doesn't matter to me what other people think about me. And, I'm not going to say that it doesn't matter, because it does matter to an extent. Everything has its place, but it does not change the way that I feel about myself. And that's what matters most. I believe that in that capacity, I'm able to serve my community so much more. And see, my community doesn't have to be 1 million people. I have come to the awareness that, first of all, my community is much bigger than what I realize that it is, but it's not more than I can handle. Meaning, I've realized that my community first is me. And so I have to have peace and love and awareness with this community that lives inside of me, that allows me to relate to others outside of me. And so when I'm good in this community, then my community outside grows. And so when I focused on my community of just being my family unit, that the people, and when I say my family unit, I'm not just talking about blood family. I'm talking about my family unit of those people that are closest to me, that connect with me, that recognize what I'm going through, what is happening in my world. Because see, the world that I share when I'm in front of this microphone right now is still a world that is not happening in the action of the challenge. I'm not going through a challenge and I'm crying and I'd be like, I'm going to get up on the mic and I'm going to talk like this and all this. That's not, I used to do stuff like that. I used to do that because that's what I used to do. That's where I was. And I needed the help of my audience and my listeners to help me. And I'm going in now. And they had so much input on what I was sharing that's how I learned my lesson too. That it's like, you can't give everybody a business like that and think that they're going to give you solid input on what you should do when they're not living your experience. They're just knowing what you're telling them at the moment. And so they give you this advice. It's just like, when you're in a relationship and you discuss a challenge that you have in your personal relationship with your girlfriend or with your dude, with your guy friend, right? And as soon as you share that with them, you're sharing with them an experience, and you're probably sharing with them in anger. Now you're mad and you need to get it out. So now you're using them as your counsel, right? And you're telling them everything and you're mad. So now you're giving them this energy, right? You're mad and now they're mad. They love you. That's your homegirl, right? She love you, or your sister or your mom even. And she got your back. So she's like, yeah, forget him or forget her. Oh yeah, we got you. You ready to roll up? You ready to roll up? I got your back. You ready to fight? And then you come to this moment, you come to your peace, you release that, right? And then now you feel better. And now you're in a space where it's like, okay, now you're going to go talk to this person again. Now you're in a different place because now you released everything. So now your energy centers are operating a little different. So now you can come with a sound mind and now you talk it out. Oh, now y'all talked it out. Y'all talked it out. Y'all talked it out so good. Because see, he went and did the same thing with his friends. And so now y'all come back together and y'all are in a good place. Y'all make up, kissing and hugging and loving. And see, the people that y'all left behind, that y'all gave all that energy to, they still mad. They're holding on to it for you because that's where you left it. These people love you. So they're not seeing this side of you that now you're good and now you're able to speak calmly and you're able to understand and listen to each other. Yeah. But see, they didn't get that. You left them with the heavy. You left them with that anger. You left them with that low vibration. And now that you got it good with your partner, you want them to be good too. And now you're mad at them because they're not as happy as you are. See, they didn't go through that process with you. Right? So even when you tell them, oh, but now we're good now. We talked and now it's better. We understand each other so much more and it's just so much better. They still mad because they didn't go through the process of the lovemaking and the kissing and the coddling and the communication on a higher level. And this is why it's so important for us to be able to work within ourselves. And when you need to talk to somebody, talk to God, so that you can get your direction before you present it to others that are going to be more emotionally tied to the expression of it, to your emotional side in that moment. And that this is why it's so important to be able to help yourself before you can help others. Because some people think that they're a therapist just because they listen and they gave advice. But if you really want to help someone heal, you have to show them their power of self-healing when they connect with God. Like that's, if you know that you can heal yourself, and you know that you can heal yourself with the force of the all, then really your job as a therapist or your job as a healer, your job as a minister really just becomes to show people how you did it, or that you did it. Not how you did it, because everybody has their way. You can show them how you did it, because I show you guys how I do it all the time. But I also tell you, this is because my experience has inspired me and caused me to want to go more in this direction. And that's why I do it. And it's important for you to find your own way. There's nothing more important than that. Because that gives you all of the tools that you need so that you can inspire others to do the same. Connect to God, meditate, spend your time in nature, spend your time getting to know yourself and God, whatever you call that force, that source, the all, Dios, whatever you want to label that energy. But you are a direct extension of that. So you have to make a relationship with that source so that your relationship with yourself could be better. So your relationship with everybody else around you could be better. But it begins with you and it ends with you. Meaning after you leave here, you're not taking anything but what's in your heart, what's in your soul, the lessons that you've learned, that energy, that aura, that soul, the soul stays with you. We're almost out of time. I did want to reach one last chapter. I get long-winded after these little paragraphs, but anyway, remember that you can find the PDF of this book inside of the private study of yourself in the private alliance at mastervibration13.com. And I'm continuing on 506. We are being informed that overcoming the old thinking process limited by the physical nature is difficult, especially as we step into the mystic, limitless, infinite being or infinite mind. Analogically, it is like letting go of the steering wheel in a moving car, knowing that an accident may occur. The same is true with us as we turn ourselves over to the higher being. We feel that we will reach a point when we will have the fear to lose ourselves and we will not have any control or influence over our lives and our world. This is not the case, because in exchange for this alleged loss, we gain our true self and acquire the greater level of influence over it. We can be haunted by the illusion of the old, but this old system is a false view. In truth, we gain a greater dimension and ability by turning it over to a higher nature. The only thing that can be lost is what we thought we knew about our own being. John 6, verse 18, and the sea arose by reason of a great wind that blew. Here we see a metaphorical verification of the struggle as a new understanding of self-will is being attained. The wind in this quote is spiritual awakening stirring within the human form. The sea arose describes the moment when our soul becomes conscious, becomes a part of us, and it helps us control the steering mechanism of life. I'm going to read that one again. The sea arose describes the moment when our soul becomes conscious, becomes a part of us, as it helps us control the steering mechanism of life. However, it will not be easy at first, but once all our attributes have merged, the seas will become calm again, as the higher self settles comfortably and the turmoil fades away. Our hearts open to the truth of life, and we see the Creator as all things and not simply in all things. To arrive at the moment, we must trust in earnestly turning ourselves over to the higher soul nature, but the ego will work to prevent this, as it must move from the driver's seat and become a mere passenger. Conchita's in the passenger seat, y'all. She ain't driving my car. In general, our egotistic tendencies will not usually allow another influencing element to take their place, let alone something that cannot be verified by our physical senses. We see this merger taking place in the Master's disciples as he approached the ship. John 6, verse 20 through 21. It is I, be not afraid. 21. Then they willingly received him into the ship, and immediately the ship was at the land whither they went. Allegorically, when the Master joined them in such a miraculous fashion, it was the greatest lesson in trust and in the faith of the mustard seed. It demonstrated what happens when we allow spirit to lift the physical and carry it through any level of turmoil that may ensue. It symbolically describes the amazing power that can be unleashed by the merger of the physical mind, the body, and the soul. The ship reaching the land shows that the disciples had learned an invaluable lesson in that Jesus is the symbol of God realization, becoming Christ consciousness. They were now on solid spiritual ground, ready to continue their journey with a wider and wiser understanding of the Master and of their own being. Oh my goodness. This is, 222. Ache, 11222. Ache. Okay, I'm gonna go on because I got a little bit more time, and I think that this part is really important for me to continue. Okay, John 26, verse 26 through 27. Jesus answered them and said, Verily, verily, I say unto you, ye seek me not because ye saw the miracles, but because ye did eat of the loaves and were filled. 27. Labor not for the meat which perisheth, but for that meat which endureth into everlasting life, which the Son of Man shall give unto you. For him hath God the Father sealed. In his statement, and I got chills all over because that's just what I talked about with the soul. You take it with me. Ache. You take that with you. In his statement, the Master distinctly tells his disciples and subsequently all of us that we should not seek the messenger, but rather the content of the message he delivers. Gracias, Ache. This is delivering me from that responsibility that I always feel like, oh my goodness, I'm, a ministering and sharing with people. I don't want them to have me as an idol. So thank you, Ache. Thank you for that. This absorption of knowledge is characterized by the loaves of wisdom that filled their minds. His words also reaffirm his desire not to be worshipped as a man, Ache, but for humanity to remember what he was offering in gaining the wisdom of higher states of being. To compare the consumption of food to take the intake of understanding is indeed quite discerning, for we ingest the energy of spirit daily without being aware of it. Oh, my microphone is getting hot. Okay, I'll move back. For we ingest the energy of spirit daily without being aware of it. Perhaps the reason is that we do not use it, our inner tuition, to know the natural principles of life. Okay, all right, I'm going to say that again. Perhaps the reason is that we do not use our inner tuition to know the natural principles of life. We draw that energy of heavens with every breath we take. It is before us. It is us. And it is, look, y'all, I did not read this. I only read until that first chapter before. So I'm just excited because this sounds like what I said before I said it. So thank you, God. I feel you. I know you are here. Ache, all the time. You're here. All right. Okay. So it is before us. It is us. And it always has been. With each inhalation, we are continually filled by this ethereal substance as though it were mana derived from the energy of the air, and it is more than just simply air. Again, the master is not talking of food, but knowledge. This is why we should seek the road leading to his teachings. It is a breath of life from the creative principle itself, so that we may enjoy the blessings of life and allow spirit to be energized as we learn of the higher consciousness. We are told not to work for earthly sustenance because it spoils, but the energy of spirit is perpetual and fills our souls. There is no denying that the physical being does require food, but we should not emphasize it as the most important factor. We can sense that it certainly is not the intention of the above message. The concern is for the proper feeding of our soul, heart, and mind, and that is when the inner struggle begins. It is difficult for anyone to release the old beliefs and replace them with higher understanding, but it will free us from the weight of what we misconstrue as a normal life. Look, I ain't even going to move past that. That is what it is. That is, oh goodness. I'm going to continue from that one later on, but this was an excellent healing session for me. Pardon me for being so selfish, y'all, but when I read these things, it's like they just start to speak to me. It's like I'm being shown different things every time that I look at it. And this time I went farther than what I expected to go today, and it took me to more confirmation of what I said during the session. And this is something that happens organically all the time in each of our lives. Just a lot of people are not recording it and they're not sharing it. And trust and believe, this has been a challenge once I've learned what I've learned and know what I know, that, to keep, I can't keep it to myself. I'm not supposed to, but there's a way. And so this is why the ministry was born. And thank you so much to I Minister Mo and I Minister Partlow for being such a great deliverer of information and following your inspiration to do what you do. Because we always think that, we do something that we get inspired to do, and that's that. But your inspiration could just lead to so much more in someone else's life. And I know that Minister Partlow recognizes what has been awakened in the ministries of Infinite Ministries and Solution Ministries, and the ministries that have been created because of those ministries. So it's just such a powerful time to exist in, and it's been extremely challenging because that CERN opened up a while ago, and we knew that it was going to have some effects, but people forget about things. And so what we're experiencing now are the effects of CERN, the effects of the quote-unquote Illuminati losing their power, the government systems falling, and new government systems rising. And independent governance is what is rising. I said to Prophet Noble Drew Ali, I Minister Prophet Noble Drew Ali, who came to show us that I, self-law, am master. And that is what we are doing in this lifetime now, taking place in this moment currently. And so it's a very exciting time, despite the hell that it looks like outside. You're going to find your peace and your heaven inside yourself. And that's just the way to go. And when you find it and know it, you don't need anybody else to confirm it. And that's what this has been all about. Trust yourself and trust the moves that you make. The biggest thing for me, that whole construct of, the police and the police quote unquote being bad. And we know that there is there's programs to everything. And what we know is that everybody in the world is not bad, and we cannot say that every police officer is bad, that every doctor is bad, that every political person is bad. Everything has this mixture. And in life, you have to find the balance in it all. And I know that when we were dealing with the situation that we had to get the police involved, then that was something that, we had to prepare ourselves for that, and for the intention of everything being as it should be, and God sending the right people to do their job. And that's exactly what happened. And we thank the Elk Grove Police Department for being such a powerful influence in the whole situation, for allowing themselves to be taken over. Because I truly believe that even when people are not in their own mind, the force of God will take over them and make them do what's right. I believe that. I know that to be. The same thing happens when you allow low demonic forces to take over. When you are in that vibration, and that's what it is, and that's what's going to come in the form of a police squad. You understand? So it's where you are. It's what you attract all the time. Let me tell you a quick little story. We got about 4 minutes. I can do this. And I can't say exactly who taught this lesson, but I know that it was something online. I will say that it was probably on Instagram or TikTok. You know how memes just pass by and then people start sharing everything. And I stopped on this one. And so I'm picturing her in my mind right now, sending her love and gratitude for sharing this information. But she was talking about spirits. And we've talked about spirits here at Master Vibe before, the liquor, the alcohol. And she just made so clear what happens when you are intoxicated and spirit takes over. And so the way that she explained it, which was just great. She was talking about how when you black out, so you drink enough liquor to where you black out, what is actually happening is that your higher self is basically checking out, is going away, is taking a nap. It has gotten overwhelmed by the low forces, and now your body has allowed for these low forces to take it over, and so now you're blacked out, and your lower spirit self, the demonic entities and energies, are going to take you on a hell of a ride that you may or may not recall. But it is their world in that time. You're just the body, right, moving in it, but the influence is all outside of you, and the influence is outside of you from the metaphysical all the time. You're just pulling either from the lower or you're pulling from the higher realms, but it's up to you and how you conduct yourself. So this is not a thing where, of course, in the old world they're saying, oh, don't drink liquor, don't do that at all, don't ever do it. It's about balance. And if you know how to work with those energies and those entities, then you may use that tool to bring balance to a situation. You might be using it for dark forces. It is what it is. If you're using it for darkness and evil and sex and rape and manipulation and all of these things, then that's what's going to come out of it all the time without fail. Same thing as if you use something in a higher realm. And this is why when people, in couples and they're using liquor to kind of stimulate that lower energy and bring in guidance from the lower realms to help with that sexual force and that nature, you have to know what you're doing and you cannot be taken over. And this is also why people that are very in tuned, very grounded, and they're very connected to the Most High, a lot of people that are in that space, they can drink and they will not get intoxicated. They will not. They will drink and will not get intoxicated. And this is not, I'm not talking about a person who's used to drinking all the time so they don't get intoxicated. I'm talking about, you can put a person that has this divine influence. If you got to put it in your mind, like a priest, for example, this person that has this divine influence, you could feed that person liquor, different kinds of liquor and spirits. It will not affect them in the way that it will affect a person that is not grounded, that is not in alignment with this force, this source. So it's a matter of knowing what it is that you're doing and why you're doing it, recognizing the tools that you're using and what they, their effects. There's a difference between white liquor and dark liquor. There's a difference between, the time of day that you do it. All of these things play. It's science. It's an alchemy, right? And so everything plays a role. Like when you put ingredients in something, right? You're making soup. We're both making soup. I got different ingredients in my soup than you do, and that's what's going to make it taste different. We're still making soup, but the ingredients and the things that you put in it are going to cause a different effect. What that effect is, well, it depends on the experience, on the ingredients. If the ingredients are spicy, then dang it, it's going to be spicy. If you didn't put no salt in your soup, it's going to be bland as heck. The same goes with what you put inside of yourself and the effects that these things have on us, be it something physical that you're consuming or just something that you're just looking at, that you're just seeing, or that you're just hearing. All of it has an effect. So I hope that helps today. We are past our time. I'll be live again with the iSyndicate private group and private alliance at 6 p.m. today, Pacific Standard Time. We're going to be talking about the 1099s, W-4s, all of these different things that we have discovered, and the red flags and, the scariness and the fear that comes with it. And I will admit, I too have this fear of people coming knocking on my door telling me something that I don't want to hear. But when I recognize the power of who I am, I transform that fear. And that's what we're going to be talking about tonight at 6 p.m. Look forward to feeling you guys there. Gracias for today. Adios.